Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to our event. As any Tuesday, 5 p.m. UK time, we go live with great founders coming from all over the world. I can say all over. Today we have US, we have German, we are everywhere. Now, before starting, as said before, in Equity Match, we are really committed to help founders to pitch their venture, their great ideas, how to improve, how to make sure that this world is going to be better than it is today. Without any before, without taking any more time from you, I would like to introduce our first founder, which is Stefan Genon. Stefan is the founder of Kinetics Global, headquartered in Alexandria, US, Virginia. Sector apparel, clothing, jewelry, fashion, and luxury. Investment round, a seed round, and Stefan is seeking 4.5 million in USD. Stefan, welcome to our pitch day. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being with us. If you want to give a short introduction to yourself, and after we can go straight to kinetics.
Thank you so much for having me, Max. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to potential investors. I'm Steve Jadung. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kinetics Global and the Adonis SM platform, which is a smart form e-commerce platform based on a membership model that's fulfilled with one annual purchase from any brick and mortar dispensary once a year. So we're facilitating dispensaries selling non-cannabis products in a digital setting. Our mission is to not just resolve pain points for dispensaries, but to make those pain points become profitable and help dispensaries maximize their dispensary brand. We're asking for up to $4.5 million to help with build out our app trials and the marketing to go along with that.
Let's go.
So as I said, this is the Adonis SM platform supported by Pay420. Why would you consider investing in our smartphone-based, what is essentially a buyer's club? The number one reason is that we have a huge loyal buyer group. If you've ever been involved with canaculture or cannabis consumers, they're incredibly loyal to the culture and to their values. The second reason is that we don't touch the marijuana plant. So whether you have moral or legal issues with marijuana itself, you're still able to invest in us because we do not facilitate that in any way. And the last thing is that because we're using established tech for smartphone apps, marketing, branding, we consider this a very scalable application for use in various regions of the US and extending both to Canada, certainly Europe, and even potentially Latin America itself. As we mentioned, some of the pain points for dispensaries, my minority shareholder, Matt Hirsch, who's an active dispensary operator, both in Maryland and has operated 4 dispensaries in Montana when it came open, helped work with me to create the foundations of our model. But we wanted to go beyond that, and we sent out surveys to owners and operators around the US and Canada to get feedback. 92% said that they want to sell non-cannabis merchandise. So it's an almost overwhelming drive that they have to maximize the return on investment of their real estate. If they can sell to 1% of cannabis consumers' buying power, we want to address the other 99%. Many of them, of course, as business owners, want to increase their profitability, and 100% said that their brand, the dispensary's brand, is very important to store income. This gives a little bit of a display of what our app will ultimately look like with the dispensary brand at the very top. For the techies out there, we get an economy of scale, essentially using the same back end, but creating a branded front end that shows to the dispensary's customers. We have an initial set of products that will populate the app, but ultimately the products that are chosen and that will be used for our apps will come from user data. We're populating it initially with things that jive well with the cannabis industry, Stores and Bickle vapes, Buddhaland hemp accessories and clothing, and 3 different collections of jewelries that are being created by Terry Saber Jewelry in Istanbul. Ultimately, like so many others, we could look down the line to possibly integrating computer sales, large, big screen TVs. The world is our oyster. What makes us special is that we're an entirely new income source. We got our information directly from operators, and that we use what we consider the most secure, connected, and method that allows for spontaneous sales, which is smartphones. We see our jewelry brands being in the $90 to $400 range. We're trialing and launching in the Northeast U.S., which has 6 of the top 13 dispensaries in the U.S. and much of the population. We do see some other competitors that I'll just summarize by saying are more low end. Our both gross profit margin and net profit margin are either within guidelines or above, and we consider our execution to be one of the primary benefits of how we approach this, working on small costs, looking toward large profits. We're expecting our trademark Pay 420 paperwork to be sent to us any day, and we have engaged a marketing company literally named London, Los Angeles, to work with us. I think we have a very experienced management team. Matt literally wrote the book on cannabis sales and use. And again, huge loyal buyer group. We don't touch the plant, and we're very scalable. We're asking for up to $4.5 million. Cannabis industry is quite complex. We don't fear complexity. We think it's an amazing opportunity for you.
Thank you so much, Steve. You cover already a lot. Let me ask you, what about the business model? How do you make money out of this application?
The business model, if you, on one of the slides that we did as a round out of the hoodie, is based on essentially commissions. Because in the US, we have a tax rule called 280E that does not allow dispensaries, marijuana being considered a level 1 controlled substance, cannot write off their expenses for the cost of product. So what we do is we handle the product acquisition, the warehousing, the fulfillment, all of the taxes, so that the dispensaries never actually receive the product and therefore have nothing to write off. We've used a 30-70 split of gross profit to provide income that we think would range between 15 and 31% increase in their profits.
I mean, that's an application done for dispensary, okay? Are they going to buy on your application and sell in the online service or whatever it is? It's not going to happen on your application.
What our effort is more deeply inclined to do is not just provide a place to buy and sell, but to ultimately become both the branded 420 brand, which cannabis users really gravitate to. I can't emphasize that enough. My co-founder, Anna Palmisano, said that given 2 opportunities, call it a Venmo or a Pay 420, and we're not in the payment realm right now, but just to use something that people can acknowledge, a cannabis user will use something that's the labeled 420 every single time. It almost doesn't matter the cost or benefits. So what we're doing is we're giving something that is within their culture that they gravitate toward every time. They always come back to their canna culture. It's not something that we have to promote with marketing for every single sale. And in that regard, we hope to bring back profit for the dispensaries and ultimately just pay them their commission, their 30% commission.
In terms of market, you are now in US and Canada. Are you going to move outside, although we're already talking about the
Just in
UK?
the US, building out our application right now. We hope to trial by August or September in the Northeast. Matt has offered to let us use his dispensary in Maryland. But as you've seen, so many, just an ocean of funds coming into cannabis with this last election in November. Um, uh, New York brought in, Maryland brought in recreational cannabis. New York now has recreational cannabis. We're all looking toward Pennsylvania. Maryland has been on board. Vermont has been on board. So Massachusetts is an early arrival. There are new markets, new groups of buyers online every day, and we hope to be able to sell everything not Canada to them. It's kind of an inverse look at the market, but that's what we're doing.
In terms of investors, which are the investors are looking to get on board? Because everyone is looking to something different, money, smart money, or whatever it is. Who is your target? Who are you talking to today?
You know, the people that we've talked to so far are both individuals that are in the Canada domain, because we find that it is being a complex market. There's just more rapid understanding of really where we're headed here. But we're really seeking not just the funding, but connections with investors that have experience with merchandising, with fashion, with apparel. It's not one of the easier markets, and that's why we think having our huge loyal buyer group is just an unbeatable advantage in that market. So to have connections there, to have some of the experience to say these are the our own pain points and the KSIs that we have to match in an apparel market would be incredibly helpful to us. We've delineated those, and we have experts that we're bringing in. Um, a lady named Jacqueline, we expect to bring in for cannabis in particular, for apparel in particular, that knows the culture.
Steve, thank you so much. Please stay with us because we are all back all together very soon. Thank you so much. I'm moving
Thank
to the
you.
next fund. Thank you. Matthias Singer Fischer. Help Matthias, I pronounce the name in a decent way. Founder in
Absolutely.
headquarters Germany, retail platform cloud, seed round and seeking 1.5 million in euro. How's it going, Matthias?
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. Thanks. Absolutely. In Spain right now. So happy to talk to you guys, and happy,
Thank you.
obviously, to have the opportunity to present our Livid case. We're a little bit about it, obviously.
Thank you for coming, Matthias. Please, if you want to give an introduction to yourself, and after we can go straight to the
Yeah,
venture.
absolutely. Very briefly, I'm Matthias. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Livid. We founded the company in 2021. We've got quite good traction in the market already. And what we're doing and what we want to do and what we're in the market for is we want to change the way that retailers and large companies sell high involvement products direct to their customers by adding the human factor to the digital online selling.
So let's move to leave it.
Absolutely. So what I think what we're observing, it's very clear that everything is tending to get, the sales are going online. Customers love to buy online, and I think the whole pandemic actually added to that trend. You might not even want to call it a trend anymore. It's just a given. It's a fact. However, what works perfectly fine, for commodity products doesn't seem to work that great for high involvement products. Now, when I talk about high involvement products, what do I mean? It's expensive stuff, to put it simply. It's something that may be very complex because it's highly individualized as a product, or it's just something that you're really attached to, like, emotionally attached to. Just imagine maybe an old timer car. That's something. That's what we summarize as high involvement. And when you look at it in that segment, way more than 70% of shopping carts are being abandoned. So what works in the commodity business doesn't work for these products anymore. However, they are high margin products. It's a huge market out there. And why is that? So we were doing some research, and there is actually quite a bit of research being done anyway. And it all boils down to this one element that is missing, and that is apparently preventing customers from doing that final last click, which means, yeah, I'm buying. And that bit that is missing is it's trust. And this is what's reflected back from the market. It's, well, do I trust that platform? Do I trust the vendor on the platform? And even more important, do I trust my own decision? So I'm potentially willing to spend a lot of money, thousands of dollars, euros, whatever you have. And if I click it, it's done, right? So maybe I don't even trust my own judgment. And how do I overcome that? And this is exactly where Livid kicks in. And trust is being built by, especially by human beings, by talking to someone, by having someone who can consult you and help you in your decision. And how do I add that to that sales process? Well, very simply, just by adding a face and a voice to it. So this is what we do. We add the human touch to the digital space, and we're building, and we have built a video streaming platform to do that. So our solution is connecting customers digitally with presenters and with products. So a presenter or a salesman, actually, he's doing what he's doing every day in his retail store. Everything's just being streamed into the web straight to the customer. That might be one single customer where you are connected in a one-to-one. That's a real sales session and that's a real sales meeting that have. It might also be a real stream where you're streaming to thousands of customers at the same time. Our platform does that. So with our installation, which is very easy, it's light tech for the retailers, is heavy tech on our servers, but that is something where the complexity is, and we manage the complexity, not the retailers and especially not the customers. So what we do is we turn a retail store into a streaming studio where retailers act as if they were talking to real customers, as if they were on the sales floor. Now, what we can also do is obviously, combine not just one retail store, but your whole retail network, and we're building a like a virtual retail store, and you can reach out to any of your sales personnel, you can reach out to any of the retail stores out there. Now, the segments we're targeting, I was talking about high involvement products. We've got extremely good traction currently with automotive. And automotive reaches, it's way more. It's not just like the traditional automotive, it's the newcomers, those who don't even have a retail network, the EV producer, they're coming from Far East especially. It's agri-tech, because agri-tech has got a huge reach and distribution problem. Look into large countries, Brazil, look into Canada, look into India. So you have to reach out to these customers. They might be somewhere, and you can't possibly have retail stores and floors everywhere. So that's where our solution delivers huge value. And also renewable energy is anything that needs to be explained properly. Success stories, yes, we have been in the market. We've signed on a huge company. It's Hyundai Motor in Germany as a pilot, but they've signed a 3-year contract with us. With 1 year down already, and with tremendous results, which we have. And on the other hand, we are getting great traction. As with our business model, we just presented at the German Online Automotive Congress, which is the largest online congress for automotive, and we won first prize. We won first prize of that startup arena, which is fantastic. How big is the market as a whole? Well, it's always up and down, and depending which way you look at it. However, we're estimating at conservatively at 1.5 billion. So there's enough space to dream and to grow. You might want to understand what our business model is. Well, we're a SaaS company, so no surprise. It's a platform subscription fee. We've got platform subscription, location subscription, and support subscription. Our current monthly revenue is at 10K. As I said, we've got our first client. We're looking for 1.5 million. Now, what do I want to do? What do I want to spend the money for, the 1.5 million? Well, surprisingly, not just for development, but what we especially want to do at the same time, because we've got our version 1, it delivers value, it's sellable. We know that it drives value for our clients. So we will be looking at spending 40% of that in marketing and sales. another rough 40% in development to make our product even more competitive, and I'll come to that in a second. Who's going to do that? Who's going to make that come true? Well, it's myself, as acting CEO. I don't want to talk about me anymore, but I've got a very strong background in sales and marketing. I've got a fantastic business network, and I can sell into the network. It's Brad. Brad is our CTO. Brad's got a great team behind himself. He's built great applications in the past and great platforms in that sector. Brad and myself have made quite a few large projects come true. Michael, our COO, I've been working with Michael for more than 20 years. Great guy. We're complementary to each other. He's the number guy, he's the finance guy, he's the operational guy, and he's the HR guy. Everything I'm not. I'm market, I'm selling. And it's Serene, he's the tech guru behind it. Without him, we wouldn't be where we are today. One word on the roadmap, and I'm almost through. Now, as I said, what we have already is our video streaming platform, which reaches out to all the locations and has multiple camera streams selectable, and it's dead easy to use. What we would like to do next is adding augmented reality in order to make the real product even give an even better experience by overlaying it with graphical elements, by overlaying with additional information, and taking it into the AR space. We would like to have a module, and we're developing that, where we actually can digitize the products themselves, but still interact with the product as if it was real. That's the important bit. And finally, our AI sales augmentation is something that will help the sales guys on the floor to have all the information at their fingertips. Actually, what Livid Software is going to do, we're going to listen to what they say, and we're going to bring the additional information about the product and about the potential customer intention in front of their eyes, with them using glasses, and we augment it into the glasses. That's what we are bound to do, and it would be great if we get some traction and if we raise some interest in today's group. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Matthias. Let me start with Mark Williams, so I'm not the only one who's going to
Sure.
make questions and so far so on. Matthias is say it's very people heavy. You need a lot of sales people to serve the inbound calls.
Yeah, well,
how do you qualify out who gets 20 minutes?
Yeah. Well, we're basing it on, we've got two customer groups. One customer group is those who are running retail stores today, right? And what you see is, the floors are empty, the people are there. So you may as well use that potential. Well, that's one thing. Because what we're not up to is running large call center space. And secondly, these people are not Livid people, we're software people. So our clients, they will have sales people out there. Now, yes, there is always a question of, is that scalable enough? It's a mere numbers game. Without people, you're not selling the stuff direct. So if you're adding people, are you selling so much more that it actually pays? And that is what the truth is at the moment, and that's what we're experiencing. So yes, it's a people business, but without the people, you're not doing the business.
I mean, if I want to use your platform because I want to sell my very expensive stuff, what I must do? In few words.
In 3 words, you subscribe to our platform. It's a subscription model, and we will either give you a list of hardware you will need, which is very lightweight hardware. It's streaming cameras, or if you want to have it all out of one hand, we will equip you with a camera integrate into your website and or your social media channels or any other sales channel that is online. And that's it.
I mean, in terms of pain point, do you believe, I'm sure you do, because this is what you're doing, do you think this problem is big enough to create enough market for you to succeed?
Well, you said it, absolutely. We do believe that. And when you look at especially our core market at the moment, which is automotive, the entire automotive sector is changing from an indirect reader sales model to a direct sales model. right? So what do they need? They need to replace the dealerships out there with their centrally controlled showrooms. So they will have regional showrooms out there, and they will sell direct using technologies like ours. Hyundai signed on to it. VinFast is the next big client we're currently talking to. Shouldn't actually have mentioned their name. Sorry, I take it back. But anyway, a very large importer from Vietnam. We're talking to two more Chinese importers who are entering the market. The demand is there because you know we ask them, we present it, and they say, "Well, this is cool. Let's talk."
In online selling, there are huge guys. Do you
Yeah.
have any fear they can just walk in, just take the like of Amazon, for example, in a fraction of a second, walk into what they're doing today? You're muted.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Our fear is well, currently we're ahead of what they're doing because who's our competitor? The competitor are not those who are doing the same as we do. The competitors are those who try to sort of like build another Amazon for this high involvement goods, and that doesn't work. It's not just tech alone. It's the tech together with the human interaction, and that's something. It's a different philosophy. We believe that our philosophy is in that segment the much stronger one and gets much better value. So if you're asking about, yeah, Amazon is huge. Amazon is never going to go into that market because Amazon is not about people. Our business, like it or not, if you don't like the people part of our business, shouldn't invest in us. We believe in it, and there's others that would invest in us. So, yeah, I think we are on the right track there, and the market is big enough for us.
That's my very last because we have in 2 weeks' time a panel discussion in Metaverse. Are you going there?
Yes, obviously, we will be going there as not the next step, but the next step, but only once a real salesperson can control his avatar and that must be live and online. Then we'll be in the metaverse. If the metaverse is just something that is self-controlled, not for us because it's not going to work for our model.
Matthias, thank you so much. Please stay because we are all back together. I'm moving to
Absolutely.
the
My
next
pleasure.
founder. Thank you very much. Diman Sirotkin, help Dim as well. I didn't destroy your name. Founder of Foundertron, headquartered in San Francisco, US, sector enterprise, HR, SaaS, B2B. Investment round is seed, 2 million USD. How's it going, Diman?
Doing great, thanks. And I would add that we are kind of between San Francisco and Helsinki, so can please both the US and the European investors.
So let's make it right. San Francisco and Helsinki, which is just came back from Slush, which was a beautiful city, just two months ago. Dima, if you want to give an introduction to yourself, and after we can go straight to the business.
Yeah, I mean, I have most of my experience from startups. Sold one company before and had a small exit, but also worked in management consulting. Been doing a PhD. Worked in corporate training, and Pandatron is a startup that I'm leading of 10 people at the moment, where we help corporations with change management, and we do that with what we call AI coaching. So essentially, using generative AI to automate business executive coaching.
Let's go.
Awesome. So, as mentioned, the problem that we're solving is corporate change management. So, those of you who work in corporations know that all kind of agile transformations, digital transformations, innovation culture programs often fail. And the reason they fail is because of people, right? As a lot of our buyers say. So essentially, behavior, mindset, culture change. And we have examples like from Nike, where companies lose a lot of money, a lot of time, and even like shareholder value doing that. And currently, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of out there. So when we talk to our clients, they say, well, I either have to use you manually, or use you, or do something manually and kind of work with some old school reminders. The market is huge. So if you look at this problem, Just like JP Morgan, I talked to them and they're like, yeah, we're spending 13 billion on cloud transformation, and 15% of that is spent on like HR and stuff training. The solution that we're using, so you might have heard of business coaching, executive coaching. Essentially, we are automating it and saying, okay, what if it costs not $250 euros per hour? What if it costs 100 times less? So it's a chatbot that integrates into Microsoft Teams and Slack. All of you have heard by now of ChatGPT, so we're utilizing that kind of technology. And on one hand, it's about scalability. On the other hand, it also allows us to collect critical data about the company's systemic issues and kind of replace HR surveys with that. So in terms of the core insights, first of all, we see that chatbots are the coaching is the easiest use case for chatbots, right? Because it's driven by questions, so it's actually easier to automate. We also see that corporate change management is a huge niche where HR is not really the responsible for it, but usually it's under head of change management, head of transformation, and there's huge budgets and big problems. We also see that through AI coaching, we can actually collect that crucial for the organization data. We see that the Teams and Slack integrations have been essential. So like we're not really competing with a lot of startups that are doing like standalone products, because that's not something that huge corporations are going to adopt. And we see that long-term, the adoption is going to go through consulting firms. And the time is really now, both because of like generative AI creating the trust, and even because of recession, where we see that there's actually a lot of demand now that customers cannot afford a McKinsey anymore, and they're kind of driven to look for more affordable solutions, if you will. If we look at the go-to-market strategy, we are targeting mostly old industries, so manufacturing, logistics, construction. The buyer is usually head of transformation, head of change management. The users are often white collar middle managers, and surprisingly, like the time to close is usually takes like 3 to 4 months. It's relatively quick. What we've seen recently is a huge surge in terms of like the users and the trust from the clients when the ChatGPT was released. Last year, we were doing mostly like small pilots of like 20, 30 employees, made 150K in revenue. But then this year, we see like a tremendous surge where suddenly they're like, hey, we have 2,000 leaders. How many can you handle? And suddenly we're onto the races with like huge projects of like 600 people, 3,000 people, etc. And we expect that like if we scale even within one client, it would be generating 1.5 million in revenue per year. So it's quite a lot. We see from our clients that it works. They say that they've achieved more in 2 months than they usually achieve in 6 months. We see really high retention, and even there's research coming out showing that AI coaching can be as effective as human coaches. If we look at like the broader market, there's a lot of like HR tools, but there's almost nothing in the change management space. And if we look at the broader coaching market, there's also like not a lot out there. There's a couple of companies that are building for like smaller markets, and we think that like long term, the big advantage that we have would be really in the coaching data. In terms of the team, so I had a exit previously, been leading teams for a while, worked as a management consultant. And then for the rest of the team, we have certified coaches, psychologists, and then, of course, developers working on this. Besides that, we're currently looking for a seed round. We've had a pre-seed round before. We have some commitments already from Bay Area, one from Michael Antonov, who was a co-founder of Oculus, one from Slava Ventures, and currently have like 3 potential lead investors. And we'll spend money mostly on subsidizing this like really large pilots that we're now starting, and getting experienced corporate salespeople and top AI engineers. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dim. My first question is on the economics. Can you talk a bit more? How do you generate revenue?
Yeah, it's a basic SaaS annual subscription. So we essentially charge from $5 to $50 per month per person, depending on the scale. If they, scale it to 25,000 employees, then it would be $5 per month per person.
And who are your target clients?
Mostly more than 5,000 employees, old industries, so logistics, manufacturing, construction. And then within those, we target like head of transformation, head of change management department.
I mean, change management is a big problem, and culture is the basement of any company, big or small. But when we go to tech, it's a serious problem. It's a serious problem because tech is very competitive. So the culture is not that easy. No, my question is, how do you retain the middle management anyway? Whoever is going to use your application, your chat box, using a chat box, because many times when you start using a chat box, you go mad after 30 seconds and you just give up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like with generative AI, we've seen like a huge like a whole other level of like chatbots that actually can solve very practical problems. And with us, when we ask the users like, hey, you know, why have you been using it for the past half a year? Like, are you insane? You know that you're talking to a robot. They say, well, look, so on one hand, they feel that it's a lot more private in many ways, that they feel like they can say things that they wouldn't be able to say to their manager, or to the like human coach. And the other thing is they say, look, I'm very busy manager. I'm running from appointment to appointment. This helps me to sit down and reflect on what's actually important. And so they kind of treat it as an interactive diary. And I think that's really the core. Like if you provide value to the people, you know, themselves, then they're going to stick with it, whether that's something that's, you know, useful to the organization or not.
How deep you go with the problems they are facing? How do you share the problems with the corporation, the company, and what about privacy?
So privacy is super important, and we always say that, hey, look, we only report on the big picture. We never like say, hey, John said this, but it's more like, hey, 25% of employees, you know, said that X is a problem. Perhaps you want to look into it. And in terms of like how deep we go, pretty deep, because when we look at like what are the real challenges, it tends to be things like, you know, time management, leadership, conflict resolution, well-being. And a lot of this problem, they require kind of talking about your emotions as well and how those are interwoven. So it's kind of the full spectrum of self skills. You can't just say, you know, here is a kind of template answer. You really have to kind of dig deeper, ask them a set of questions, and help them to create a plan to kind of move forward there.
I mean, in terms of the corporate management itself, now that's right. Privacy is very important, but in somehow you need to give some feedback to the companies, right? So the corporation. Now, if I'm a corporation coming to you, what I'm expecting to receive after 2-3 months of using your application? Which kind of improvement I can get, not in terms of quantity, but exactly what can be the benefit that my corporation can get out of it.
So in terms of like, if we look at the coaching itself, it's very practical, like behavior change. So we run like studies where we have a control group, and then we kind of compare the results before and after, and we see that the behavior changed dramatically for those people who went through the coaching. And it's, you know, it depends on the transformation. Maybe if it's a safety change management program, then it's, you know, safety related behaviors. And then if we look at like the data, it's often about like actionable insights. So we've had like one client that ended up changing their 5-year corporate strategy because of us, because they were looking at like the top line revenue and saying like everything is great. But then in reality, a lot of people were leaving and they didn't see that because they were looking only like at financial metrics, and there were so many layers of hierarchy.
I mean, you're young because the company is very young. This is my last question. Do you have any data how your service can be reflected on revenue and cost management, especially more than revenue? Yeah, both are very important, but actually sometimes I do believe revenue even more because a
Yep.
good employee or whoever it is, someone is working with your company, is very connected, very engaged, feeling well, going to work because he likes to go, she likes to go. It's more productive.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We don't have like hard data on like return on investment yet, but really excited now to starting like some big projects. For example, with like Electrolux, where we have like in the beginning like the whole marketing department involved, which is like 600 people like worldwide, and then they're already asking for the pricing for like 10,000 people. And I think like at that scale, in the next like 3 to 6 months, we would really be able to say like, you know, how does it move the needle on the level of the whole corporation? Because of course, when we work with like 20, 30 people, we're not yet able to see what is the like exchange, and what is the change in the level of the whole company.
Absolutely. I mean, I do believe corporations are the one more keen and the one who has more need of what you're doing. Dima, thank you so much. Stay with us because we are very shortly back, all of us together. And I'm moving to the last one. Thank you so much. Paul Roberts. How's it going, Paul?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good. So Paul is a founder of GapCure, headquartered US. Many comes from US today, at least two. Sector healthcare is a seed round of 200K USD. Paul, if you want to give an introduction to yourself.
Sure. So thanks for having me. I have over 20 years of experience as what's called a medical case manager, which means I'm a registered nurse. And most of my experience has involved cost savings, closing care gaps, and that sort of thing. So I'm actually considered one of the foremost experts on the subject of closing care gaps.
Let's talk about your venture, GapCure.
Sure. So GapCure was started because of the need to close these care gaps, especially with complex patients. That's where actually the biggest care gaps occur. And when I talk about care gaps, what I'm talking about are things falling through the cracks, basically. You know, not everybody's on the same page. Usually it has to do with things like delays in treatment, miscommunications, misunderstandings, medical errors, poor transitions, let's say from inpatient to outpatient, for example. So as far as our vision, we do believe that the future of complex healthcare is going to center on what we call bidirectional, which means two-way interoperability and analytics. So you do interoperability with other areas of tech, not so much in the healthcare space, and that's something that we want to change to make sure that everything is connected. So if we look at the opportunity, believe it or not, only 5% of all patients are considered complex, meaning that they're treating with multiple providers, have multiple injuries, really kind of catastrophic stuff going on. But despite the 5%, the healthcare spending is half of the total. So when we look at TAM, we're looking at $600 billion worldwide yearly. So it's an enormous area of opportunity. One of the reasons it's the greatest time right now to invest is because the 2016 Cures Act paved the way to medical exchanges, which gave us the opportunity to obtain medical records that are no longer siloed off. So it makes sense to provide actionable information back to the care facility. 27% growth by 2030. And we are looking at partnering with not only Amazon AWS, but also Health Gorilla, which is the third-party intermediary that has access to the medical exchanges. As far as the problem, the enormous costs on and burden on the healthcare system, which are care gaps. But besides that, the gaps have not been visible, and because they're not visible, they can't be quantified. And that's something that we want to change. So yes, as shown here, you can see that unseen complex care gaps are the #1 area of waste in care facilities. We provide the tools. So what we do is we obtained the raw data, and we have a decision engine that works on AI, machine learning, that scans the medical records of individual patients looking for hidden care needs that often slip through the cracks. And we can point to where the care gaps are. And we provide it back to the physician. Yes, while we're patent pending, we do have a new care map, new and patient trends, not large data trends. Patient-specific personalized. We also have an MVP. So looking at the competition, we don't have a whole lot of competition. The closest competitor is IntelliLogix. They use large data sets to do AI trending, basically, and try to point out some cost savings. But as I said before, we're looking at individual patient records and more individual medicine. So as far as the plan, because of the high barrier to entry, what we're going to do is attack the senior care market first and establish traction before branching off to hospitals and the more lucrative payer side, which stands to benefit the most. But there are 15,000 nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities. We want to, like I said, get our traction there first. As far as the team, over 25 years of software marketing experience and sales. I'm in excellence, and then we have another and work. As far as the do what's called pre and post cost savings. So we do a comparison trial, and then after the trial, 13% that we think we are going to save. And then there isn't any long-term commitments or anything. And if they want to drop out, they can. And so with EMRs, I won't go through it. And then finally, $6,000 for 10% of the company, and that's primarily for converting the MVP to market fit, so that we can start generating sales. Otherwise, a little bit for marketing as well as an international patent.
Thank you so much, Paul. Unfortunately, we had some problem with the connection, but I hope everyone understood. And I do believe so. Can you hear me now? I think we have Paul with a little bit of problems. Can you hear me, Paul?
I think maybe my internet's slow. I don't.
If you can hear me, it's fine. Let's try to fix it.
I don't know. Did I lose? Hello?
Can you hear me now? You're losing Paul. Paul, you can stay with that camera. Probably it's better. You can stay with that camera. Probably works better. Can you hear me? Paul? Okay. As we have 10 minutes left, we can do it this way. After, if Paul is coming back, I can still have some Q&A with him. We can all come back together so we can close our pitch session today. There is some noises coming from the back. If you can switch off your microphone and just switch on when you can, when you need to talk. So how we're going to close as we do any end of each event. I really want to ask you, starting from Steve. Steve, why investing in your startup, yourself, and your team? Why investors should, in some way, give you the money?
Max, we listed in the presentation the three, the huge loyal buyer group, that we don't touch the plant and that we're immensely scalable. I think sometimes that isn't completely clear. I think the PayPal example is a very good one. When I was talking to a friend, I said, when PayPal was starting, they're trying to get consumers on board. They're paying $20 a person. He said, oh no. He said they were paying $100 per person for signups. And I think when you've got a group of people that are already on board and they're walking in front of dispensary owners every day, sometimes multiple times a month, because you don't necessarily see that yourself, it can be set aside. But PayPal was funded to the level of $216 million over 7 rounds to be able to buy into that market. Our advantage is that those people walk by our dispensary owners and the people using or that will be using our product every single day. And the second thing is that caniculture is not something that necessarily a lot of us know. Some of us do, but the draw of that simple little pot leaf, of being around other people that are like you, the cultural aspect is like catnip. And whatever business you're in, that draw to come back to center, come back home, come back to the Adonis app that is where all the things that you're interested are located, is phenomenal. And other companies are just barely pecking around the edges, and we want to go right up the middle and own the market. So I think those are our strengths.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you for being with us. And let me move to Matthias. Matthias, why invest in yourself, your team, and your company?
I think we've got it all together. We've got a version 1 of a product which works perfectly fine. We've got a whole lot of interest in it. We've got the roadmap and the technology plan. We've got the team. I think what we really need, and that's the missing bit, is we need speed. And in order to do that, because currently, quite honestly, we're bootstrapping, so we need some investment in order to speed up our tech and to speed up sales immediately. As I mentioned, about 40%, which we'd invest in order to make the market, because the market is just opening up for that, and we're at the right place. There's no competition whatsoever in our sense. Now it's the time, and that's why we need the investment.
Thank you so much, Matthias. Unfortunately, Paul is not with us. We lost Paul. I hope next time can go better. Dima, let me close with you. Please, why invest in yourself, your team, and your venture?
Thank you. I think I'll cut it down to 3. Number 1, it's a huge market. Maybe Paul's market is the only one that kind of beats it with 600 billion, but ours is like 330. Corporate change management is insanely huge, and even when you look at like spend per client, right, like where one project can cost like 10 billion or more, that's insane. And it's also blue ocean, right? So it's not only about the size, but also like there's not a lot of competitors out there because it's still kind of a niche. Number 2, I mean, the team. So I think we kind of got a lot of the important elements together, where we have expertise in consulting, in training, coaching, psychology, have had startup exits before, have expertise in AI. Like I personally know the project manager of the ChatGPT project, and a bunch of other people from OpenAI. And sort of like there's an amalgamation of expertise that is needed to build this thing that is quite eclectic, but nonetheless is concentrated in our company. And I think the last thing is the timing. So yes, like a lot of it is kind of riding the success of generative AI and kind of collecting as much data as we can to ensure that the quality of the product is unbeatable, and which creates kind of a certain mode for the new entrants to come in. But also, like, we see that even recession, I think this is one of the few industries where this actually plays in our advantage, where we've had, for example, one company from Finland, an energy company that lost billions because of the war in Ukraine, come to us and be like, hey guys, we can't really afford McKinsey anymore. We would love to kind of get an offer from you. And so we see that even from that perspective, and from perspective of like the adoption of Teams and Microsoft Teams and Slack, it's a huge kind of timing opportunity now, whereas like many people don't remember, but like 4 years ago that wasn't the case, right, before COVID, and you couldn't really kind of scale within corporations so easily. So yeah, I think this is some of the reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Dima. Unfortunately, Paul tried to come back with us, but there is nothing. Okay, we do next time. You're right. Recession is not always bad. Many times recession gives opportunity. And I remember was Lush, I'm not going to name anyone, and was say in a good day, if you are a good driver, you can maybe pass 1-2 cars. But if in a bad day, in a very raining day, like recession is, if you are a good driver, not scared, you can take over 20, 30 cars. I do agree. It's been an extremely clever done, one of the biggest investors by far in the world. Thank you very much for coming, Steve, Matthias, Dima, and Paul. Unfortunately, is not with us. Thank you for your time, sharing your vision, idea, and your braveness to go ahead, because being a founder is very, very tough job. Thank you all the audience, and I hope to see you again next Tuesday, 5 p.m. UK time. Thank you.